What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today's video is going to be on the New Orleans Pelicans. And we're going to be talking about how they're going to shock the NBA world this season, and we're going to jump right into the video. Now, my reason for making this video is that I feel like people are still sleeping on the New Orleans Pelicans, or at least that's how it feels in my personal life right now. The other night, me and some of my boys, we were talking about basketball, talking about some of the best teams in the Western Conference, and I brought up the New Orleans Pelicans as a contender, a team that can come out the West and go to the NBA Finals, and they basically wasn't feeling me. And then also I tuned in to Undisputed the other day, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Skip Bayless said the same thing that I said, look out for the Pelicans, and Shannon Sharp, he said the Pelicans, they aren't there yet, and I respectfully disagree, and I'm going to tell you guys why in this video. And the number one reason is based off what I seen from last season. I feel like the New Orleans Pelicans, they took that step that you have to step to elevate. They took that adversity step. Now, when it comes to the game of basketball, I feel like adversity is one of those things that can make or break a basketball team. And when you get over that adversity hump, I think it opens up so many great things for the organization. And that's exactly what we saw from the New Orleans Pelicans last season. I feel like they were dealing with adversity for a very long time. And at the end of the season, they were able to overcome it. And if we look at the Pelicans at the beginning of last season, got off to a very rough start. I believe it was something like 3-12, and then on top of that, they had some crucial injuries to some of the best players on their team. We didn't see Zion Williamson at all last season, and then especially at the beginning of the year, Brandon Ingram was dealing with some injuries that kept him out of the lineup. So usually when this happens, the Pelicans, they were losing a lot of games. It's very common. I'm pretty sure we've all seen it before. The GM and the coach, they could come together and they can decide that it's just best to tank for the rest of the season, and we're just going to have high hopes for this upcoming NBA draft lottery. But Coach Willie Green and David Griffin, they did the exact opposite. They did a great job at the NBA trade deadline, and they were able to bring in CJ McCollum, and I was a huge fan of this trade when it happened, and there were a few people skeptical about it just because of CJ McCollum's age and the type of money that he makes. But when you look at the Pelicans and what they were struggling in, they were struggling in pick and roll offense, struggling in isolation, and then perimeter shooting. CJ McCollum, he brings all three of those things to the table. So I thought that played a huge role in them turning the season around last year. And then also Coach Willie Green. It's something about him, the way that he instills confidence into that young team, that they just started to play with a lot of heart and a lot of desire. And by the time the NBA playoffs started, they were able to win 2 play-in games, get to the first round of the playoffs against the Phoenix Suns, and they took it to them. They went 6 games with the defending Western Conference champs, and it was a very entertaining season. So that right there is the biggest reason why I think the Pelicans are about to have a great season. They seen adversity, and they were able to overcome and conquer it. And the next reason I'm going to bring up is that they have a very special player coming back, and that's Zion Williamson. Now, the return of Zion Williamson will be one of the most anticipated returns of the NBA next season. And not only if you're a fan of the New Orleans Pelicans, but if you're a fan of the game of basketball, I think you should be very excited for his return, just for the sole fact that he's a once-in-a-lifetime basketball player. I don't think we've ever really seen anything like Zion Williamson, and he's great at what he does. And I think his return is at the perfect time for the New Orleans Pelicans. They have so many things figured out. They have a great group of guys around him, and it just seems like everything is on great terms. He got the max contract. He's in great shape, and he's just looked good, and he looks happy. And you factor all that in with his skill set, it's going to be amazing for the Pelicans. And there's not too many things I can tell you about Zion Williamson that you don't already know. I can tell you that he's just not a dunker, and he's so great at dunking the basketball. He's so athletic, and some of the stuff he does is just unbelievable, especially in his college and high school days. So to the average NBA viewer, he might just seem seem like all he does is dunk the ball, but it's so much more than that. He is such a skilled basketball player. My favorite part about his game and what makes him so dangerous is the quick first step that he has and his ability to jump so quickly off the ground, especially when it comes to like offensive rebounds. But I think when you're as solid and as strong as he is, when you have that quick first step, it just makes you a matchup nightmare. No big in the league can stay in front of Zion Williamson. He can easily take them off the dribble, and he's right to the rim. And then when you try to put that quicker player in front of him, that player is just not strong enough. And Zion, he has great footwork. He has some moves in the post. He can play on the block. So it's not a lot of defenders in the NBA that can play Zion Williamson one-on-one. And as a matter of fact, I don't think it's any guy that can guard Zion one-on-one. He is just too much of a force of nature. So I love Zion coming back for the Pelicans, and I think he's going to fit in well with his new team. And he's not the only star on this team. I am a huge fan of Brandon Ingram, and I think he is poised for a breakout season. Now, I think Brandon Ingram has already arrived in the NBA and established himself as one of the best young players in the league. So when I say breakout season for him, what I mean by that, I could see him averaging like 25 plus points per game, along with five assists and 5 rebounds. I could see him making another all-star team, making an all-NBA team. I think he has the talent and the will to do it. And what I seen from him last year, his first time in the playoffs, it seemed like he had the desire to be the best player out there on the court. And I feel like when it comes to the game of basketball throughout NBA history, you truly see how great a player is when they go to the postseason. Will their game elevate, or will their game elevate, or will it go down? And last year we saw Brandon Ingram, his game elevated in that series against the Phoenix Suns. He looked like the best player on the court at times. He had 3 games with 30 plus points, just playing out of his mind. And the crazy part about it is that he was looking unstoppable. He got whatever he wanted, no matter if they doubled, if they was helping hard. His mid-range game, all the length he has, is virtually unstoppable. He can get to the rim. He's a great passer now, and he can knock down wide open 3-point shots. So Brandon Ingram, he has that complete bag on the offensive side of the ball, and I feel like he's going to continue to elevate his game even more. So I love Brandon Ingram. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do next season. And another reason why I think the Pelicans are going to be great next season is because they're going to have so much lineup flexibility. Now, in today's era of NBA basketball, I think it is very important to have lineup flexibility. And what I mean by that is like being able to go small at times or being able to go big, just depending on what your opponent, you never know what chess move they're going to pull on you. So I feel like you have to be able to counter it with your own flexible lineups. And when I look at the roster of the New Orleans Pelicans, I think they will have the ability to play big, and they will also have the ability to play small. And we look at their starting lineup, what I think is going to be CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and then Jonas Valanciunas. I think with this lineup, they're going to be able to play very big. I think they're going to be getting some easy looks at the basket, and I think they're going to feast on the offensive glass. And then when you look at the fourth quarter, this is usually where teams put their best offense out on the court. They might go small. They might want to throw out a unit that can switch everything. And I feel like the New Orleans Pelicans, they have so many different small ball lineups. My personal favorite would be CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and then Trey Murphy. I feel like this group right here will be so fun to watch on the offensive side of the ball. It has that perfect mix of shooting, guys that can create their own shot, and I think they're going to do great in transition. And then there's so many other lineups you could go with guys like Larry Nance. You still have Jackson Hayes and Jose Alvarado. The rookie Dyson Daniels, you can use him in so many different ways. So I just think the Pelicans, they're going to be able to beat teams in so many different ways. And then they just have some guys on their team that you just cannot guard one-on-one. Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, and Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas at times. All these guys require a lot of attention on the offensive side of the ball. So I think the Pelicans, I think they're a team that can come out of the West next season, and I'm going to be sticking to that until April comes around. But that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.